So if you want to achieve PL/SQL output that looks exactly like this, where you use your cursors and your output looks like this, then please stay tuned for this video so I can show you guys how to use implicit cursors to achieve an output that looks like this. Welcome back to Code Hive, the place where we make it work, make it right, and make it fast. So I'm so excited for this video. I'm going to be showing you guys how to actually use the PL/SQL block, right? So I'm going to show you guys how to use variables. In this example that I have for today, there's no constants, but I'm just so excited to just, show you guys and for us to get into it, right? So, okay, so we have a question over here, right? So the question says that create a PL/SQL query to display the product name, product price, sales date, and company name where the sales date happened after the 17th of May. Okay, then they tell you that the sample output should look as follows, right? So it should look like that, exactly how it is. That's how it should look, right? So there's two ways in which you can achieve this, right? So the first way is if you use an implicit cursor. The second way is if you use an explicit cursor, right? So for this video, I will be using an implicit cursor, okay? So I will be answering the same question in the next video where I use the explicit cursor, okay? So if you still haven't watched my video where I talk about the PL/SQL block actually, as well as variables and data types, then please do watch those videos because it will make sense as we look at this example. So let's get right into it. Okay, so now that we have looked at the question and how they want the output to look, then I just took the initiative to just paste the question over there so that we are able to see what is required of us to do. Okay, so the first thing that I want to discuss with you guys is that if you want to have your output looking like this, right? So basically, if you want to use the dbms output.put line, which is something that I will explain as we continue, you need to have this statement over here. Okay, so basically what this says is that it will enable you to display any output generated by the dbms output.put line. So like I said, you will see it as we continue. So just make sure that when working with cursors, you need to first start your statement like that. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to declare. Okay, so now we are going to work in our declare section, right? So if you still haven't watched the video where I explain the different sections in the PL/SQL block, then please do watch that video. Okay, so now we want to display the product name, right? The product price, the sales date, and the company name. Okay, so those are the three things that we want to display, right? So you can see it's the stuff that we need to display over there. 4 things, okay? So product name, product price, sales date, and company name. So that's the 4 things that we need to display. So we are going to go ahead and create variables, okay, for those things. So you can call them whatever you want to call them, but let's just make it relevant to whatever we're displaying. I mean, if you want to display a name, you can't name the variable book, okay? So, okay, again, if you haven't watched my video where I talk about variables and constants, then please do that. So the first variable that I want is product name variable, okay? And then let's make the data type varchar with a length of 50, okay? Then the second one we need is the product price, okay? So let's go ahead and say product price, okay? And then I want the data type to just be number, okay? And then the next one is sales date, right? And then I want the data type to be varchar2 with a length of 50. And then the next one is the company name. Okay, again, bar chart 2 with a length of 50. Okay, so those are our variables. So again, we've looked at variables in my previous video, so I won't go into detail as to explain what is happening over there, right? Okay, then the next thing that we want to declare is a cursor. Okay, so it goes like this. So your keyword, which is cursor, right? And then your cursor name. So let's say we just want to name it cursor1, or let me say cursor1. Okay, so that is our cursor name. So cursor keyword, and then your cursor name, right? And then is keyword. Okay, so we are saying cursor, which is cursor1, is. Okay, so now in your cursor, you need to have your select statement. So these are select statements that we've been working on in previous videos. Okay, so it's not going to be that difficult. So we want to select p dot product. Okay, then the next one that I want is p dot price. So again, if you still haven't watched my videos where I discuss joins, then please do that, because this is what I'm using joins. Okay, so we're using from the product table, which we're giving an alias of p. Again, if you still also have not watched my video where I talk about aliases, then please do so. And then the last table we have is customer c. Okay, so this is my tables. Okay, and then now we want to say where the product ID, right, in the product table is equals to the product ID in the sales table, because that is the bridging table basically, right? And then also where the the customer ID, right, in the customer table is equals to the customer ID in the sales table. Okay, so that's what we have. Okay, and then so let me just make this a bit bigger so that I can put my tables over there. Okay, so now that my tables are over there, you guys can see what I'm actually talking about. Okay, so now this is what we need, right? We need the product, the price, sales date, as well as company name. Okay, and also don't forget, they say that where the sales date happened after the 17th of May. So that's another where clause. So, and the sales date, which is in the sales table, right, is greater than 17 May 2020. Okay, so what this is saying is that it will only display the sales date that happened after the 17th of May, like they're saying in the question on top over there. Okay, so that is it for the cursor. So that's how you declare your cursor. So your cursor, keyword, and then your cursor name is keyword, and then you have your select statement. Okay, so now that we are done with our declare block, we are going to move on to the next block, right? So which is the begin. Okay, so now it's about to get a bit challenging. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to create a for loop, right? So for, which is our keyword, and then I'm just going to say R, right? So the letter R, and then in keyword, right? And then your cursor name. So our cursor name is cursor1. Okay, so let me explain this. So begin, right? So you're saying for R in cursor1. So basically this R is representing the loop variable. So you can call this Z for all you want, or whatever you want to call it, right? It's just a loop variable. You can even call it a name, like whatever you want actually, right? It's a variable, right? So basically it represents the current row that is fetched from the cursor, right, during each iteration. So if we want to fetch the product ID from the cursor, right, then we're going to say Z dot the product, and then the price, and then the sales date, and then the company name. So it's representing the current row that is fetched from the cursor during each iteration. So it will make sense, trust me, as we continue working on this example. Okay, so now that we have that, let me just create some space. Okay, cool. So now that we have that, right, so for and then your variable name in cursor 1. Okay, it's actually like R, I don't know why, but anyway. Okay, so now we're going to loop, right? So we're going to have the loop keyword. Okay, so now what needs to be done now? Okay, so we are going to say, so we see these are our variables, right? So we are going to take each and every single one of those variables. So let's start with product name. Okay, so it's the variable, and we are assigning it, right, r dot product. Okay, so let me explain this so it's easier to understand. So this is our variable name, right, which is the product name, which we just declared in our declare section. And then we are assigning, we did speak about that in my previous video where I talked about variables and constants, right? And then now with this part, right, so we are saying r, which is the loop variable, dot product. So what this is going to do is it's going to say r dot product. So it's going to fetch that product from the cursor. Hence why we are saying for variable in the cursor. So this is the variable, and then what are we fetching from the cursor? We are fetching product. So that will be assigned to the product name. Okay, so we do that for each and every single variable that we have. So the next variable that we have is product price, and we are going to assign it r dot price. Okay, and then we're going to do the same for sales date. Okay, we are assigning the value of r dot sales date that we got from our cursor. Then the last one that we have is the company name. We're also assigning it, right, the value that we just got from our cursor, from that select statement. Hence why it's saying for and then variable name in cursor. So it's going to work with your cursor that we just declared over there. Okay, I really hope this makes sense. Okay, so now that we have that, we want to output, right? So we want our output to look like this. So earlier on, I did mention that in order to achieve that, you need to declare this statement, this command line over there. And then I said we are going to use something like dbms output dot put line. So let's get to it. So dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. So this is what you use to output. So if you've worked with, for example, C#, you would know that you would say console.writeLine, right? But in this case, for PL SQL queries, in order to output, this is the line that you're going to use. Okay, so now we want to go back over here. So we want to print out the product name, the product price, sales date, and the company name. So the first one is the product name. So I want it to look exactly like it looks over here. Okay, so product name. Okay, then there's a little bit of space. Okay, so now the next thing that we're going to see, we have our product name. But now our product name, we are looking for it in our cursor, right? And then we got the product name, and then we assigned it to what? We assigned it to the variable that we declared in the declare section. Okay, so now how do we put it under or next to the product name, right? We're going to use concatenation. So concatenation is if you want to display a set of strings next to each other. So in most languages or some languages, you would use the plus sign. So in this case, this is how you concatenate, right? Then now what do we want? We want our variable. So our variable for product name is product name. Okay, and then we want a new line, because we can see that every one of them is printed in a new line, not next to each other. So you print your product name, then your product name, then new line, product. Okay, so how do you create a new line? So again, you would notice in some programming languages you do like that, right? So that's new line. But in this case, we have something called CHR10. So that indicates new line. Okay. Then now we're going to concatenate. Okay. Then the next thing that I want, okay, is the next thing that is required is the product price. So product price. Okay. Then I just like to make my stuff to align nicely. Okay. Then we're going to concatenate. And then now we can see that over there we have the rand sign, right? But in our table, there's no rand sign. There's no rand sign. Oops. So because we stored the price as a number in case we have to use that as calculations or whatnot. So how do we display the rand sign without changing the price, right? We're just going to put the sign over there, then we concatenate again, and then we put our variable. Okay, so I forgot to concatenate also over there, hence why there was an error. Okay, so concatenate again, and then we want new line, and concatenate again. Then the next one that we want, is the sales date. Okay, so sales date. I just like my stuff to align nicely. Okay, so the sales date, which the sales date variable is holding, and then again new line, and we just keep concatenating, like that. Okay, and then the last one that we have is company name. Okay, and then we have our variable company name, which is holding that information. Okay, and then CHR10, and then new line, concatenate. Okay, and then the last thing that we have, so we can see that we have those dashes over there that's looking like that. So extended for a bit. Okay, so that's our DBMS output line. Then we need to close it and then end our statement, so it will blur out like that. Okay, then what we need to do now, we need to end the loop, because now we have our end. Okay, so that's it. That is our PL SQL block, and we have just used an implicit cursor to achieve this question. So now let's see if our output is working out. Okay, so we're going to run that, and hopefully there's no errors. Okay, so now we have our output, so we can see that product name, product price, company name, so we can see the rand sign over there, so you could easily say dollars, whatever you would like. Okay, so we can see that output looks exactly like our output over here. So I'm just going to explain it to you guys one more time so that you guys can understand. I'm just going to close over there. Okay, so set server output on, right, is for making sure that we are able to see the output that we just saw right now. Then we have our declare block, right? So we have our variables that we declared over there. Then we have a cursor that we are declaring, and we are naming the cursor 1, right? Then we have the is keyword, right? So everything that we're selecting over here is essentially becoming your cursor. So it's in your cursor. So that's what your cursor is holding. Okay, so it's our normal select statement. We've worked on these for the past couple of videos. Then we have our begin block, right? So we have a for loop, and we have the variable r that we are declaring for that for loop, and then we are saying in cursor, so that cursor is the name of our cursor over there. Then we are going to create a loop. So now what we are doing is we are taking our variables, right, and we are assigning them to the values that we are taking from our cursor. Okay, then we have our DBMS output dot put line. So basically what we're doing over there is we are achieving the output that we have over here. So we're making sure that we concatenate, we're making sure that we declare new lines, right? So the CHR is for new line, and then this is for the concatenation, right? And then we are making sure that we need to end the bracket at the end, right? So there's the opening bracket and there's the closing bracket, and then always make sure that you end your statements with a semicolon. And then now that we're done looping through all of that, we end our loop, and then we end our PL/SQL block with an end. Okay, so that's a lot. That is really a lot, but this is how you achieve that output that we've looked at over here, right, using implicit cursor. So in the next video, I will be showing you guys how to achieve that using an explicit cursor. So I hope this video made sense. Please leave a comment in the comment section below if something does not make sense, or if you want me to explain something again, I will be happy to do that. Okay, so that's what we just did. So I hope now that you guys can see how to use our PL/SQL block and how to use a implicit cursor. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked this video, please hit the like button, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching.